Jesus Christ was brutally martyred and then he miraculously rose to heaven alive, according to the New Testament. That was Jesus' triumph over death, and it was resurrection that Christians celebrate at the time of Easter. A Scottish anthropologist called James Fraser, in his divine book called The Golden Bough, explained that Christianity is not the only religion that has a figure who rose to life again. In this video, we shall explore 6 phenomenal stories of resurrection from the world, including China, India, Mesopotamia, and Norse mythology. Number 1. Tammuz, the spring god of Mesopotamia. In the ancient agrarian societies, the last days of winter were considered to be the end of scanty subsistence or the shortage of food, and a beginning of bounty and happiness. That is why most of the festivals of ancient societies belong to summer and the growing season. In Mesopotamia, that is one of the first civilizations, people turned to divine explanations regarding annual cycles of feast and famine. For Mesopotamia, Ishtar was the mother goddess and a source of fertility and abundance. She had a lover called Tammuz, who died every winter and passed away to the underworld. It was considered that Ishtar traveled for 6 months in the world of deaths to rescue her lover, and during this period, the whole world became devoid of fertility and richness. Then every spring, the stern goddess of underworld called Alatu allowed the couple to leave the underworld and go to the world of living. With their return, the vegetation, fertility, and happiness come into the world. In Babylonian calendar, the resurrection was celebrated during the month of Tammuz, that is roughly June or early July. Number 2. Osiris, the Egyptian god of death and agriculture. According to Egyptian mythology, Osiris once ruled the planet Earth with his wife Isis, the queen, who was considered the goddess of fertility. But Osiris was tricked and befooled and assassinated by his brother Set. They chopped his body and spread it across Egypt. Isis reassembled those pieces and jointed the body with oil and performed elaborate rituals and sites of embalming, which resurrected Osiris to eternal life as the god of underworld. Ancient pharaohs used the same process of embalming and mummification to become eternal that Isis used to resurrect Osiris. Even the common man mummified himself to get eternal life. Royal mummies like Tutankhamun were found wearing funerary masks bearing the likeness of Osiris. Number 3. Savitri and Satyavan. In India, there lies one tale of love, death, and resurrection, according to Hindu traditions. Once, there was a clever and beautiful princess named Savitri who refused to marry any of her suitors and left the palace in order to find out her true love. At last, she met with Satyavan, a woodsman, who was a former prince. Both of them fell in love and got married. They were very happy when a prophecy came from the gods that Satyavan would die after 1 year of their marriage. It happened so that he died after 1 year, but when Yamraj, the god of death, came to take Satyavan's soul, clever Savitri followed Yamraj from the burning desert to the underworld and begged him to return Satyavan, but Yamraj refused to do so. Rather, he grant her a wish. She cleverly asked for a lot of kids, which Yamraj granted. Then she said that how would she suppose to bear the children while her husband is dead? In order to keep his words, Yamraj had to return Satyavan's soul, and he was brought back to life, and the couple was very happy and united. Number 4. Bodhidharma and his single shoe. According to the greatest Buddhist tradition, the figure known as Bodhidharma was a great Indian sage who may have been the first to bring Buddhism to China. In the Zen Buddhist tradition, Bodhidharma often plays the role of the wise and wily Zen master, challenging his students with cryptic riddles that, if understood, lead to the path of enlightenment. One day, a Chinese diplomat named Song Yun was crossing the Pamir Mountains between China and India when he passed the now elderly Bodhidharma. Walking in the opposite direction, Song Yun asked where the master was going, and Bodhidharma replied that he was finally going home to India. Then Song Yun noticed that Bodhidharma was only wearing one shoe. So he asked why. Bodhidharma suggested that Song Yun asked the monks when he arrived in Shaolin. The men parted ways, but when Song Yun asked about Bodhidharma's shoe in Shaolin, he was thrown in jail for lying. Song Yun could not have seen Bodhidharma because the master had died several years earlier. To prove it, the monks opened the Bodhidharma's tomb, but all they found was a single shoe. Not even death could contain the wisdom of Bodhidharma, who is often depicted barefoot and carrying a single shoe on a stick. Number 5. Odin's sacrifice. In Norse mythology, Odin is chief among the gods of Valhalla, a creator god whose wisdom and wizardry were unmatched. But Odin had to pay a terrible price to achieve his powerful and esoteric knowledge. According to Norse legend, the greatest sources of wisdom in the ancient world were the magical symbols that not even the god could understand. But Odin was willing to do whatever was necessary, even face death itself, to untangle the meaning of those hidden symbols. According to the epic Viking poem Havamal, Odin subjected himself to a violent form of self-sacrifice. Odin hung himself from the great tree, pierced his side with a spear, and forbade any of other gods from coming to his aid. For 9 days, Odin hung from the tree, staring down into the watery depths of the well, until finally, on the 9th day, the forms of the magical words were revealed to him in the language and imagery of the Havamal. Part of Odin died in that 9-day ordeal, and he was reborn or resurrected as a far more powerful being with newfound knowledge and ability. Number 6. Quetzalcoatl resurrection in Mesopotamia. Quetzalcoatl. In ancient Mesopotamia, the greatest of all the gods was Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, worshipped across the countries of Mayan, Toltec, and Aztec civilizations. In some traditions, Quetzalcoatl was an Osiris-like figure, the god of agriculture and vegetation, closely associated with the rain god Tlaloc. And like Osiris, Quetzalcoatl was deceived by his brother, tricked into drinking a powerful intoxicant and sleeping with the priestess. Overcome with guilt, he killed himself through self-immolation, but rose again to life. In Toltec mythology, Quetzalcoatl is linked with Venus, the brightest star in the ancient Quetzalcoatl became the god of death and rebirth. As creator god, Quetzalcoatl also descended to the underworld to collect the bones necessary to make the first human being.